Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Tons of good stuff happening today. I want to thank everybody for coming. And thank you, TNT Tesla, Sean Donnelly. And of course, our friend in Beijing and everybody else. Thank you. This is an interesting story today. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Some crazy price targets on some of our favorite assets. Some crazy statistics about some cryptos that are out there. A certain crypto went down today, which is very important because it's holding up the second biggest crypto on the whole planet, and a whole bunch of valuations, price targets, as I mentioned that already, crazy stuff by the SEC, Bitcoin support levels as well. Let's get into it. This one's called OCTA, and we're talking about nation state FOMO. We know we have Treasury FOMO. Could there be nation state too? And we have Squirrely Girl. Woohoo! Another lady in the community. Love that. And of course, not financial advice. Big thank you once again to the Mods In channel. And from Rodrigo Ruiz, love your Patreon, brother. Thanks for everything. Thank you for everything too. Let's get into the ugly news first. This is a little bit shocking for many. We had an issue today where Base, which is where all the action happens, layer 2 on ETH, that it's owned by Coinbase, one sequencer, absolutely centralized. It was down for 53 minutes and nothing was being processed. The cause is unknown, but the impact was significant. Basically, Base does pretty much everything. It does many, many multiples of what Ethereum does. And the narrative, well, I don't know what the narrative will be. I know that I personally was mocked and scolded for years and years and years about Solana having outages, but it's been over a year since I had one. And now with FireDancer, it's not a problem anymore. It cannot go down anymore. It can get congested, but at the speed it runs, that won't be a problem either. But now Ethereum base layer 2 down. Now I believe the narrative that say, well, it's probably allowed as part of a centralized control. They're just testing outages. Who knows? But it's bonkers to see. Anyway, enough of that. Unlocks, as usual, all the layer 2s on ETH, speaking of them, continue to unlock. Aptos, Arbitrum, etc., always 2% every single week. I think it's become a bit of a cash grab. Stark, 3.3%. What else? Immutable X, 1.3%, etc. And that's the unlock story. Let's get into the bad news. Now, I was struggling a bit to find some bad news, so I've got some bad news as good news. Bad news. Hope that makes sense. This is from the Bitcoin historian Pete Rizzo. President Trump to sign an executive order prohibiting banks from denying services to Bitcoin companies. This is huge. There still are banks around the world that prevent you from moving your money to a crypto exchange. The US president just made a law prohibiting that. If you own money at a bank X, call it Bank of America or Citibank, and you're trying to move 25 grand from your checking account to Coinbase, they are no longer allowed to stop you. It's still happening around the world, but this is a great piece of law to really shackle the banksters, which is awesome. And we had a little bit of a slowdown as well in the ETH ETF flows. They're still positive, but way off the previous 2 weeks that had huge inflows. So the investor appetite is less. It's not dead, but it's a lot less. And they were 2 weeks of record flows too. So nothing lasts forever. Let's get into the good news, ladies and gentlemen. Fun. I love this part. Fear and greed, 60. Despite the market being low, people freaking out. Bitcoin at $113,600. Remember, we're above 100 grand and people are losing their minds. It's a volatile beast. I couldn't be happier myself, but people are still greedy, which is good. And that ties into some of the story today as well. Bitcoin over the last 7 days versus altcoins, not good at all. Some dark red. Binance very down hard, 8%. Solana down hard against Bitcoin, 8%. ETH down hard against Bitcoin, 2.33%. But Tron and Litecoin, two legacies from the past, are beating Bitcoin. In terms of the week, yeah, not perfect, down 1.71%, but not catastrophic from a week ago. Again, the action for Bitcoin is like this, and other assets all over the place, mostly down with a few exceptions. So nothing too hectic going on, but it's not perfect. Let's look at some TA with on-chain stuff as well. Shout out to Check on-chain. One of the things that people are very concerned about is how low could we go? And should people be ready for dips if they're still buying Bitcoin? Well, per Check on Chain, he had a very nice little analysis here. So a couple of things I do want to point out from this chart. One is right now, about 2/3 of the short-term holder supply is in profit, which is good, which means only a third is underwater. Short-term holder supply, they are people that bought over the last 155 days. It sounds like a lot, but in reality, it's considered a very, very shallow dip, okay? You know, not many people bought at 123 grand. We're now at about 113, 10K off. But again, only a third of those people that bought over the last 155 days are underwater. 2/3 are in profit. And that's good news. And also, given that very few coins transacted in that 110 to 116K, remember the air pocket where it just shot up, went above 110, went straight to 116. It's unlikely that things get much worse unless we trade even lower. But how low could we go? Well, during a bull run, we could typically go as low as the short-term holder cost basis, which is 105,800. So that whole gray bar there of between 105.8, 105,800 and 110K is a support zone, and we are above that right now. I would like to also point out the 200-day moving average is nearly at 100 grand. That'll be a great little party when that hits $100,000. 200-day, very important level as well. So exciting times from the chart. Nothing too much to worry about here. Still in a bull market, still not rattled. But remember, August is sleepy and slow because everybody's on vacation. Low volumes, very little action, very little spending. Therefore, prices can chop sideways, which is what we've expected since June, July, because I look at seasonality a lot, and expect the same thing for stocks. Don't expect stocks to be on fire. But if you do have stacking to do, you might get some good deals. So have your finger on the trigger. Let's look at the flows. We had a negative week, and this always happens. Typically, we get 8, 10, 12 positive weeks. Never hit 13. 13 is the jinxed number, and we are at 13 weeks of hopefully positive flows, but nope. Stopped at 12. We were negative. And the flows were about 200 million out, reversing the previous week, which was nearly $1 billion in. And the reason for this could be the hawkish Fed, no rate cuts, bad job data. I don't know. Everybody was rattled. And it's also August. People hit the pause button in August. They do not go crazy and buy. And that's just the nature of what's happening out here as well. Now, flows by assets. A couple of really wild things. Ethereum positive, Bitcoin negative, down 400 million. Solana up nearly 9 million. XRP 31.3 million. What the hell is happening with XRP? It's bringing in more money than Solana. Let's look at some data. And this, I'll honestly say, I am absolutely bewildered by some of the data here. Let's just look at, and we have got 60 different ratios. This is just a few of them from the smart contract platform. Solana beats XRP in everything, absolutely everything. But if you look at daily active users, XRP is 23,000. Solana is 4 million. Okay, that's 16,000% more. DEX volume, XRP, $700. Solana does 2 billion a day. Okay, that's 3 million percent. No, that's 280,000% difference. No, that's 280 million percent. The numbers are so big, it's outrageous. Stablecoin market cap, forget about that. 10,000% difference. Distance from all-time high. XRP is only 16% away from all-time high. Solana is 42% away from all-time high. And then even crazier of all, right? Solana does millions of percent more any activity you want. More developers, more action, more users, more transactions, more fees, more dApp revenue fees, etc. The only thing that comes remotely close is Twitter followers. Solana has 3.5 million. XRP has 3.152 million Twitter followers. But the craziest thing of all, the market cap of XRP, fully diluted market cap, is triple that of Solana. Okay. Now, sometimes I compare Solana to other chains like ETH and Layer 2s, etc. But this is kind of ridiculous. Anyway, markets are irrational. And remember, they can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. But I plan on waiting for the cream to float to the top, because it will one day. I promise you that. Now, getting into the big story. This is called, well, the title is Nation State FOMO, but really we'll start with State FOMO. Michigan is a state in the United States, and they just bought $10.7 million worth of Bitcoin. All the states, like I think 48 now out of the 50 states, I used to track them, are all making plans to allocate their funds that they own in the state. Imagine the state being like a little country. They got their own budget and everything else, and they got cash that they take from their citizens, and they put into pension funds for their employees and all that type of stuff. But this is big. This is big. Michigan now taking the dip and buying Bitcoin, 10.7 million. And remember, once the money goes into Bitcoin, it doesn't come out. They don't trade. They allocate and they wait. Okay, it's very rare that they sell positions. And there's going to be a lot more of this. Now that Michigan has put their foot in the lake of Bitcoin, it's fabulous. And remember, there's also a lot of states that own MicroStrategy as a proxy, because they weren't actually allowed to buy and allocate towards Bitcoin, so they bought MicroStrategy instead. Anyway, then we have Indonesia. Indonesia is considering Bitcoin as part of their national reserve, another strategic Bitcoin reserve for a massive country. Indonesia, I think, is the 5th most population on the planet, maybe even higher than that. And shout out to anybody out there from Indonesia watching. But that could be big too. But it's not just Indonesia as well. Brazil is also considering, and they have been for a while, investing in a strategic Bitcoin reserve as well. They have a public hearing on August 20th to debate whether or not they should do it. Remember, Brazil is very rich in natural resources like oil, etc., like Petrobras, a company I used to trade over 25 years ago. Mad to think about. But anyhow, Brazil has their own set of problems, but Bitcoin could be a set of solutions to solve a lot of those problems too. So just the news today, 3, 1 bought. Well, state of Michigan is bigger than many countries. And 2 countries are debating whether or not they should take the plunge. Fingers crossed. Once this happens, remember, they can print their own money and buy Bitcoin. Once that happens, boom, off to the races. Thank you, everybody. Now, another interesting piece as well. Everybody always said real world assets and the tokenization of equities will only happen on Ethereum, because Ethereum doesn't go down and it's trusted. Well, Base just went down today, and it's not, I'm not dancing on any graves here, but I'm just sharing that blockchain sometimes can go down. But what is crazy is all the tokenized action for stocks on the planet happens on Solana. They did 90 million, okay? And that's more than all chains combined. So yes, Solana is becoming the real world asset chain. And it's early days yet. This only launched a couple of weeks ago. And the most popular stock with retail in a tokenized manner is, guess what? Tesla. Second most popular stock, NVIDIA. It's not by chance that they are my top 2 AI names as well. Again, I'm so happy to see retail making the right decisions, even if it means buying tokenized stocks. And for some people, they don't have access to centralized exchanges to buy equities, so they have to go this route too. So this is why it's really good for them to get exposure. Anyway, speaking of tokenized assets and real world assets, and shout out to Chainlink. They're jumping into it with both feet, and they're launching data streams for US equities and ETFs with real-time pricing data for tokenized real-world assets across 37 blockchains. And Chainlink has deployed on Solana too, which is a bit of a threat to Pyth, the Solana Oracle as well. So good work by Chainlink. And this is where the money is for them as well, and they know it. Now, if things couldn't get any better, the SEC, who remembers Gary Gensler, that POS, bad person, was saying that all crypto is a security. All crypto action is a security. NFTs are securities. Liquid staking If that happens, it's a security. Well, now the SEC just said, no, actually, liquid staking activities are not deemed securities, which is huge. And this is another domino falling because remember, staking is what secures these layer one blockchains like Ethereum, like Solana, etc. It's staking that secures them. And staking requires, it drives decentralization. Okay. The old world of finance, etc., is in a filing cabinet. The new world is decentralized networks that are secured by staking. Okay. So this is basically a bad thing for the traditional centralized world. And as I said for years now, everything is going to be tokenized and everything is going on the blockchain. The pace at which it's happening, though, even has taken me by surprise. I keep saying the world is changing way faster than we could have ever believed possible. So super exciting. Now, AltSeason begins. Or does it? We're not sure. We had a bit of a fake start there a week or so ago, where we shot above 50, and right now we're up at 49. So it's bang middle of the road, and we know AltSeason yet. But looking at the performance of the assets, it's a different story. Everything over the last top 50 assets over the last month, you can see Bitcoin in black, but pretty much everything else has beaten it over the last month as well, with the exception of a couple of names. Actually, Aptos is there, XMR is there, Aave is there. Aave was on a rager earlier this year. Pi is there. But the two big ones on the left, Pengu, up 112% over the last 30 days, and ENA, which is terrible tokenomics, up 120%. Still, weird stuff pumps, and I don't know why. But again, fingers crossed one day cream will float to the top. Let's get into some stocks and some very interesting numbers as well. Stock market fear and greed is at 54. Crypto's at 60. There was a time earlier this year where these two were neck and neck the whole time. But it means crypto is more greedy now, which means a little bit more bullish for crypto. Stocks a little bit more reserved, especially going into August. Anybody who's been investing in stock markets for 35 years knows that August is slow. Let's see. Stocks over the last 7 days. A lot of red. Something's got really badly kicked in the teeth. Amazon down 8%. Apple down 5%. Tesla should be somewhere there. Tesla down 4.8%. Microsoft up 3%. Google 1% up. Meta 6.5% up. Nvidia flat. Apple down 5%. AVGO flat too. Another AI Broadcom play. Anyhow, not much is happening. Some things are up. Some things are down. Nothing too hectic. But what is important is the amount of CAPEX spend for the AI race is going into top gear. Big tech companies, we're talking 4 companies. This doesn't even include what Elon Musk is spending on AI. 4 companies have spent over $1/3 of $1 trillion this year. And this year is only half over. I'll repeat that, everybody. 1/3 of $1 trillion into AI. Okay, if you're not exposed to AI, this is not a bubble. This is different. I made a post this morning on Patreon about AI. Not only is it going to be 10x bigger than the Industrial Revolution, but it's going to happen 10x faster. Okay? The rate of change is 100x more than what the world has ever seen before. Be ready for it, everybody. Be ready. I've been ringing the alarm bell for years now. Thank you, Joe B's Daycare. Appreciate you. But the money that's being spent is insane. And in fact, so far in Q2, Amazon was the biggest spender. Maybe that's why Amazon's down 8%. Stock market doesn't like how much they're spending on CAPEX. Microsoft has tailed back some of the spending as well. They started fast, now they're slowing down. And this is not all of it. There's a lot more being spent out there. So absolutely insane. And when you compare the last big race we had, late 90s, was telco, massive CAPEX investments. This is way higher. This is on par with what the railroad investment was in the 1850s. That's how big this industrial revolution is. Bigger than anything we've ever seen. Now, talk about another stock. This is UPXI. It's a Solana proxy. And I was also bewildered all last week because it was trading at 25% discount to their bags. I didn't understand why. But now, the analysts from Wall Street are beginning to get the attention or begin to focus on UPXI. UPXI receives a buy from Alliance Global Partners with a $15 target. Shout out to Dirk as well. And the average consensus of all the analysts following UPXI is a $16 target. Not bad. We're at $5 now. It was down as low as 4 last week. But let's look at the chart of where it came from on the ATR model. And people say, but it's $5. How can it go to 15 or 16? That's a 3x. Well, remember, it was as high as 18, a little bit above 18, actually, in May, a couple of months ago. And it's way off the all-time highs of $35. And that's not even the all-time highs. It was a lot higher than that back in history. But we are in the zombie zone, but buy signals twice popped up. No sell signals yet. I think we're going to level 1, which would be $8, $8.50, and then higher. But you have to watch this in relation to the NAV premium and the price of Solana. If Solana does what I think it's going to do, this should do very well as well. Now let's look at some of the proxies, the HODL model. This is a ranking. I sorted everything by NAV premium from lowest to highest. UPXI is now at 0.85, which means it's trading at a 15% discount to its bag. Semler is trading at an 8% discount to its bag at 0.92. Mara at 1.01. It's basically trading at the value of its Bitcoin bag, and they are buying more this week. Fold is there, 13% premium. MicroStrategy, 50% premium. DeFi Dev, 47% premium, etc. And it goes all the way up. And people ask, why is Coinbase a bad proxy? No. Coinbase doesn't hold a lot of Bitcoin, but I put it in there as a perspective. If you go to look at Tesla as a proxy, it trades at 700 times the value of their Bitcoin bag, because that is not the true value of the company. They do other things as well. So that's why all these names are on here. Now, let's talk about Tesla for a second. The Tesla level of expansion of Robotaxi service area is exploding. It now runs across the entire Bay Area where I am, including major cities like Oakland, San Francisco, Palo Alto, San Jose, Fremont. A lot of 8 million people are now covered by this, and they're doing long trips that can take an hour and a half to go from south to north, and it's big. And they're about to eclipse Waymo. Soon they'll be doing Waymo than Waymo in terms of service area, and they're also rolling out aggressively to other states very quickly. And shout out to Zooks for taking part in Nevada as well. Nevada, I think, is where Tesla is going next. On top of that, that's where they have a lot of factories too. So anyway, this is really taking off. And Cern Basher, shout out to Cern, friend of the channel, one of the top financial analysts out there. I consider myself pretty good. A big modeler. He's also very good, a very big modeler. He came out with a video on Peggy's channel with a price target of $8,226 for Tesla by 2030. Remember, we're nearly 2026, and his price target is 8,226. I like patterns and numbers. Once we get to 2026, it's only 4 years to 2030. Okay. For the kids at home watching, your math homework for today is divide 8,226 by 310. And what is that of a multiple? That's how many multiples you get on your money if Cern Basher is correct. Now, in fun news, 3 years ago, I made a video. By 2032, Tesla could get to $8,000. 8 different ways to getting to $8,000. I was laughed out of the room. 3 years later, Cern Basher ups the ante, has a higher target, and it's arriving sooner. So again, people thought I was crazy back then. Maybe not so crazy now. We got people like Joe Bacti as well. 10 or 11,000 by 2030 is his target. Remember this. I just want to remind people again. Look at the red line here. This is what I call exponentiality. This is what humans have a hard time wrapping their brains around. It's how fast things move. The rate of change. S-curves. This is why it's so exciting. Very hard to sleep at night with all of these crazy numbers. But Morgan Stanley from TradFi World says they can't find anybody who can handle and push the physical limits of physical AI. Okay? Nobody is as well positioned as Tesla across data, robotics, energy, AI, manufacturing, and the supporting infrastructure needed to scale. Nobody can touch them. Okay? Nobody. And price target 410. Not that high, but that's by year end or so. So we'll take that. But Morgan Stanley, for them to do that and say that is a big, big statement. And Dan Ives, shout out to Dan, $500 target. So there we have $8,200 target, my $8,000 target for 2032. But I did that 3 years ago. Now I'm even more bullish than I was 3 years ago. Down is $500 and Morgan Stanley 405. It's all good. It's all good. And I always talk about energy, the mega pack business alone being worth $1 trillion of market cap. They just signed a $3 billion deal in Georgia. Remember, the margins they have on mega packs is over 30%. 3 billion, 30%. That's $1 billion in pure profit to the bottom line. Okay. Earnings per share, take $3 billion divided by 3 billion shares, $1 a share, 30%. 30% profit margin, which is, guess how many cents per share? 30 cents per share. Added one deal in Georgia. The demand for these things is off the hook. And this is enough power capacity. It's 3 gigawatt hours, which can power 2 million homes for 4 hours. Okay. Very, very, very big deal. And anyway, crazy numbers. And Tesla Optimus is ready to ramp version 3. They did a deal. I didn't get a chance to touch on this in DCA yesterday, but they're combining Sony sensors with Samsung lenses. Okay, sensors to feel and touch and understand pressures and stuff, with Samsung lenses to see what they're doing so they can navigate the real world and do stuff like juggle, like work in a factory, like walk your dog, all the important stuff in life. Big thank you once again to the mods in the chat. And finishing today with meme du jour. This is from Quentin. I thought this was really good. And it's very important. I stress this a lot, but he says it in a very profound way. I know it's nice to have memories and buy a nice car or get a whole bunch of student debt. But if you're willing to learn yourself, you can learn yourself by not spending a lot in college. And the opportunity college is very high because you can't typically work there. Or make a nice memory with a $25,000 vacation. YOLO, you only live once. Or put $10,000 in Bitcoin or Tesla. You're crazy. That's gambling. So society will cheer you on going broke, but will panic the second you try to build wealth. That's very, very important. So think about that, everybody. The opportunity cost right now of spending cash. I know I sound like, oh my God, you're not living, you're not making money. Yeah, I can live all I want, but my job is to try to save as many souls as I can before I too move on. But the point is, all right, that $25,000 vacation is nearly 100 Tesla shares. Okay, 100 Tesla shares, if it goes to 80,000, that's nearly $1 million. That's the math we're talking about here. That's the opportunity cost of that memory. You can get the memory, but I'm just saying postpone it for a couple of years. Invest first, enjoy later, because the opportunity cost is extremely high. Quentin, thank you so much for that as well. All these videos are turned into Substacks and podcasts by the team. I really appreciate them all. And yeah, hope you enjoy the show. Want to wish everybody a great Tuesday. It's, of course, OCTA Tuesday, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you, Sean D, TND Tesla, everybody else out there, and Joe Biden, take care. Peace to you all, and K8, an American Beijing'er. Have a good night.